Have you ever had a close encounter? I'm Solomon, helping you engage prophecy to restore America. I had a dream that would tell you a little bit of what I mean by that. I had a dream a few weeks ago, and in this dream I had some relatives that were visiting from out of town, and then they had a small family, and we were in a looked like maybe a park or some restaurant, outdoor restaurant, but it was unfamiliar to me. I've never been there before. And we were sitting on a seat on the wall right underneath the roof outside the building. And I was sitting on one side, my wife was sitting on the other, and this family was sitting on the other side. Well, at least the husband of the family was on the other side, sort of kneeling with his leg propped up on the bench, and he kind of had his hand in his face in his hand. So one of the children that were a part of this family, we hadn't physically seen in a while, but we kept in contact through the phone. And as good as technology is these days, it helps us keep up with people that we love and care about, friends, family, people that who we care about. But physically seeing them, was obviously different for the first time. So I put one of the children on my lap and I made comments about how much they had grown since we last saw them. And then I looked further to my left and saw one of the other kids. There were 3 kids in the family. And I saw that her complexion was very, very different than what we were accustomed to. She is of a darker complexion, but in this dream, this little child was much, much lighter. Actually, her 2 sisters are very fair skinned. The child I'm speaking of was fairly dark skinned, but in this dream, she was had the same skin type as these others. And so I commented on it. I commented on my wife, and I commented on to the husband across the table from me. And the husband looked at me like, I was crazy. He doesn't know what I'm seeing. And also my wife was sort of, they weren't seeing what I was seeing. It didn't faze them at all, one bit. And this was the end of the dream. And so I want to kind of touch on what I believe this dream is dealing with, and what it pretty much what it means. And so I'm going to hit it on some points to give some clarity on what I think the dream has to deal with. So I believe that there's 6 points. One of the main points is the fulfillment of promises. And I think this is a national thing. It's personal for us, to us, our family, but it's also dealing with current events. And it has to do with the fulfillment of promises that we've been hearing many of the prophets speaking about, declaring what God is doing, what God is saying. And up to this point, maybe to some extent, they've seemed to be afar off. We've been hearing them, but we haven't really been seeing physical evidence. But in this dream, we're going to see physical evidence. And where I'm getting that is because this family that was with us in this day, they visited us from far away. And we were actually able to physically touch them, talk with them, handle them. And this is what God's doing. He's going to bring into being the things that he's been telling us about, and we're going to experience it. The second thing is the changing of the complexion of current events. We've seen some, smaller fulfillment of some things, some significant, but overall the full array of things that have been talked about that we're going to see a change in hasn't completely changed yet. But here, in the dream where I told you the child of this family that came to visit us, their complexion changed. Well, this is speaking about the complexion of our current events. We are going to see and experience a change of complexion of the current events in a significant way. But unfortunately, there are some who will not see this as a good thing. For me in the dream, I saw this as a good thing. It was something that probably wouldn't happen naturally, but in the dream, it was a good thing. The third thing was that, as I said, my wife and the father of the, from the family that visited us didn't see what I was seeing. My wife didn't, and this father didn't. I believe that my wife represented believers and this other person represented unbelievers, because God is a God that we must have faith in order to please. Hebrews 11:1 speaks about faith being the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, and that if we are going, God is a reward of those who diligently seek Him. And if we're going to please God, we must have faith. Those who do not have faith, it's impossible to please God. So unbelievers aren't necessarily going to see the changing of current events as a good thing. Also, believers, all of us are at various stages of our development and our walk and our relationship with God. Unfortunately, there are many believers walking in disbelief, and many of them will not also not see the changing of the complexion of current events as a good thing, because their minds were somewhere else. The other thing is that the fate of believers, the fate of believers who didn't believe. We were in an unfamiliar place. We were having a nice time. It was a nice sunny day, beautiful day, but it was unfamiliar to us. And I believe this has to do with a place that we've never been before in our country, the stage of events that have unfolded. But it will not be a bad thing, it will be a good thing. We've been experiencing quite a lot of distress, a lot of difficulty, a lot of things we would rather not have had to experience, a downturn in our economy, how we're seen to other nations, how they see us. We've been weakened. We've had sicknesses and illnesses. We've had quite a lot of loss. And the Lord is about to change that to the extent that it's going to be a time of joy, a time to sort of a reprieve from the negative things that we've been experiencing, and to be able to reflect on all the good things that have happened. I don't think we'll be quite out of the woods, but it's going to be a very, very good start. And the last thing is that one of the first things I said was we were at this bench in this place. And I believe that the bench is a symbolic for a benchmark. It means a benchmark. This will be a benchmark for our country, for a lot of us individually, where we stand with God, where what our walk was, what our response was during this period of time, and all the shifting that God is doing, where we stand with Him at this point. And it's basically having to do with all the players at the table. It was me, this family, my wife. We all were at this table, but we represented stages of our society and our culture and our government, our land. And basically, this is a place where God is going to, from here, He's going to know, we're going to know where we stand with Him at this point and what's going to happen after that. So if you haven't ever had a close encounter, get ready, because you're about to have one. That segues me into my upcoming video called Gif-Twister. If you want to know about the next stage of what God's going to be doing and what entails the close encounter, take a look at my upcoming video. See you in the next one.